Hi everyone, great to have you tuning in to this series of the Investor Talk. And in this episode, we have Ting Ting here with us. So Ting Ting have a passion in new business idea conceptualization, innovative business model and strategy formulation, planning and realization, technology commercialization, growing and training future business leaders. She started off as a molecular and cell biologist and tried her hands at startups before entering into the B2B media business. So Ting Ting, can you start off by sharing more about yourself, your passion, and how do you get to your current field of work?
I actually started my first business when I was, well, you can say a business when I was 12. So I was selling kind of accessories to school students in secondary school. So I always wanted to do startups. And after I graduated from NUS, I first started doing a PhD. But then after 3 years, I published 2 papers. I realized it's not something I wanted to pursue further. So I quit that and I went to Shanghai to actually start peer-to-peer manuscript editing service that is bridging scientists from different fields of various like scientific field from the West and the East, so that they could help each other to edit their papers for international publication. But that business didn't survive because my co-founder has left. But I always want to do it. So I came back, I quit my PhD, I joined a multinational B2B media company. That's where I learned how the business intelligence, market research, and conference exhibition field is like. So in 3 years, I've set up a multi-million-dollar business unit with only 4 people. So we're turning around 700,000 net profit a year with only 4 people in the team. So, but I always wonder, did I make it a success because of me or because of the company? Because I started the life science business unit for them from ground zero. I could continue in the corporate to become, managing directors, whatever, continuing the ladders. But I can also try my startup again. So since I was at age, I think 28, I think if I don't do it now, that my life priorities could change. So I went to start my own. So I initially did something similar, but in different countries, so that it's not competitive to the company I used to work for. So now this business has been 10 years, and 4 years ago, I've literally resigned as CEO. I hired a management team to run it. After that, I started to focus on more mentoring startups, getting involved in incubators and travel quite a lot, because I think after 5 to 6 years as a CEO and founder, it's starting to get a little bit more monotonous, and I would like to look at how am I going to conceptualize and realize new ideas. And the only way I can do that is, to keep a distance and look at new things. So I've obviously invested a few startups, tech startups. I even started a tech startup with a co-founder, but that tech startup didn't really survive after maybe 6 months of the testing phase, because I think the concept is probably too new. The market's not ready for it. However, I learned a lot along the last 4 years, like investing in different startups and so on. So yeah.
Right, so starting a business, really you have to do everything yourself, and then a few years later, sustaining a business is another thing. So to you, what are the differences between starting the business yourself and then sustaining the business?
I think in the beginning, me and my co-founder, when I started IMAPAC, which is the 10-year-old B2B media company, I think we only worked together with each other, and in a way worked for ourselves for the first 3 months. After that, we started actually taking on full-time staff and interns, because we do need people to make things work. And also, I think maybe because of the business model and also some of the existing clientele and relationship I had before, I actually had revenue for the business before I even you can say really set up the business per se, or can deliver the first product. So the first product, we already have close to 200,000 revenue. So by year, you can say actually by year 1, end of year 1, we're already profitable, and then we can actually hire more people and so on and so forth. So I think starting a business in the beginning is a little bit I guess diving off the ledge and see what happens. Sustaining a business is very much about how do you make it self-sustaining and automatically run by other people other than you. I think the biggest problem with a lot of entrepreneurs, I'm not sure it's a problem, because if they enjoy it, then it's okay, but not for me. I feel a lot of entrepreneurs, they start a business, then they're running this business until, I don't know, 50 years later, still the CEO and so on, very closely hands-on related. The problem with that is when you're too much of a control freak, you don't let it go to trust that other people knows even better than you in some aspects, the business really never grows. I think it's very important for, because startup founders, they are very hands-on people, right? Or else they wouldn't be able to start. They have to be able to make the first 100,000, 200,000, million maybe in themselves. And but the problem is, if a startup's only surviving because of the intelligence, the expertise, the relationships, the connections of the founder, the business will never grow beyond maybe 10 people. I think if you want the business to really grow and sustaining and self-run and scale, we need to build processes, we need to build structures, you need to develop leaders, like mid-level, low-level, high-level leaders. You have to develop them, and the best one is development in-house. I mean, I have tried many different ways. I've hired professional managers from outside in multinational companies, but they don't culturally fit. So it's like they know how to run a multinational, maybe a small team in non-multinational, but they don't really know how to run an entire company in a small SME setting. So in the end, we found the best leaders are someone who actually grow from the basic junior role all the way. Like after 5 years, you really know the business inside and out. You know, we empower them to give them, the position that they can make decisions, as well as the knowledge, support, and we also incentivize with share options. So this is what I've learned. Like, if you wanted to build skill, you have to let it go.
You mentioned also about the sustainability of the business. So early this year, when COVID-19 happened and everyone was affected, obviously.
Yeah.
So other than your business, which revolve around the B2B business conferences, which have to be probably postponed or cancelled, right?
Yeah.
What else do you do during the whole period of circuit breaker to adapt to this new normal, we call it?
We have to pivot. We have probably most of our conferences postponed because I think we only run one conference this year, which is in February. That's in India, before the situation gets bad. And our second one, third, which is in Singapore and Denmark, have to be postponed because by that time the travel ban has already been impacted. So we had to deal with a lot of issues, such as we had to issue credit notes to sponsor some events. We have to take it virtual. Some events we have to be postponed, like all our third quarter and fourth quarter event. You can say 75% of that is canceled, so complete zero revenue, right? So as of February and March, you can see from March to May is probably the hardest months. We didn't have any revenue coming in, but we have like over 100,000 of overhead going out every month. So it was a very stressful time because I have to say that in that time, the stress, emotional turmoil is the understatement. I have a lot of sleepless nights to think of what we want to do, because the problem with COVID is nobody knows when it's going to end.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, initially you're very hopeful. You think it's going to end by June, but it doesn't. And it gets worse and worse, and you start losing hope. And you also have to manage your employees' emotions, because for salespeople, if they don't make sales in 3 months, they get their high from closing sales. If they don't do that, they will leave. They will do something else. So so we quickly pivoted to focus on market research, digital marketing, virtual conferences. So actually by end of this month, we broke even. Like we at least recovered the losses through virtual conferences. I think by next month we'll be making a profit already for this year. So that was actually something I think is maybe looking back is a blessing in disguise, because we have been wanting to venture into market research business for a long time, but we never actually put the resources and manpower on it, because we are always like we have too much work with regard to the conference business unit. So COVID kind of forced us to have to face it and and that business start take off, and I think that business will remain after even COVID is gone. So that would add additional at least 300 to $500,000 like revenue at least to the business as of now, yearly. It could grow into $1 million business unit itself if we expand more in the future and put resources on it. So this immediately increases our whole portfolio, and also I think it trained quite a few of our team members to be able to adapt to crisis. Obviously, we also have employees who can't adapt to super stressful and have to leave the business, but so be it, these things happen. So I think the pivot and think really creatively on other products. Like we also launched a series of webcasts. So we kind of, so they are sponsored by solution providers with end users kind of speaking. So the webcast, we tried it, it works to a certain degree, but I think the issue is webcast is not very profitable, although there's revenue, but it's a good experience to try. We at least know what it is. We also have spent a bit of time. We actually launched we actually adopted a CRM system also completely. We actually adopted, this is already adopted last year, like paperless accounting. So everything is online. We also use this opportunity to improve our digital marketing and make it more automated, like referral-based marketing mechanism and softwares and technology. We also adopted recently a new virtual conference platform. So all these things, these are the things we focus, right? You can only focus on things you can control. You can't focus on the things you can't. So we just decided not to dwell with those. And I made a commitment to my team and saying, guys, I'm not going to fire anybody or lower anyone's salary with the basis as long as the business is not going to make a loss in the last 2 years. So which means I'm going to invest the profit from last year and whatever, at least into this year. And this year, we're just happy to be break even. So this is how we protect our team to not lose jobs. Because I know out there, maybe 70% of people out there either have reduction of salaries or hours or lose their jobs and so on. I run my business like they are my family, I believe in you can say generosity begets generosity. And also I don't need, to earn so much money in the middle of the crisis. I think it's more important my team keep their jobs and they're happy and they are not worried. Because 50% of them are foreigners also. So if they lose their job, they have to go back to their home country. I think in the middle of this crisis is unthinkable. So I think this is a few things we did. I think it's quite successful. The team is actually more united than before. We also kind of promoted someone also to lead the team, become a general manager, which is like going to pretty much replace most of the I'm still doing a little bit of administrative work, but not so much now. So yeah, I groomed someone from you can say middle management right now, and she has been proven to be amazing. So I'm very lucky to have an awesome team.
Right. And I believe that you do walk the talk as well, meaning you encourage your employees, adapt to the situation whereby you learn to go digitalize. And one thing that you did for you was you actually started a YouTube channel, and that's really amazing. So if you guys are wondering, Ting Ting started a YouTube channel called Wonder Woman Ting Ting. And that was started during circuit breaker, and right now she have actually gained 1.67 thousand subscribers. That's really amazing. So given that most people were passively surfing the web for entertainment or even sourcing for learning, that was really a courage that you took to actually start the channel. And why did you start that channel, and why on YouTube?
During the circuit breaker, I had quite a few friends who own yoga studios or a wedding gown salons or whatever. Basically they are business owners themselves, right? A lot of them has obviously have their business hit, right? There's not going to be weddings. People cannot even go to the gym or doing yoga, they have to be closed down. So they have to do quite a few, you can say, downsizing. I mean, F&B is affected a lot as well. Quite a few of them, they like to brainstorm ideas with me. So they come to me, we talked about how we can do things differently. And I realized some of the things that I share with them is quite common. So I feel like, you know, if, there's two things I think I noticed is, first of all, business owners are suffering. So if I can share how I kind of pivoted and changed, because I think my business is literally 100% affected, right? 100%. If you look at our revenue in March of April, comparing next year is like last year, it was 90% down, we're talking about. Like almost zero, right? So that's huge. And, their business affected too, but slightly different problem. So I just thought, you know, if I could share with more people on the video, so I don't have to repeat myself. That's number one. And number two is I also know quite a few people lose their jobs, and to stay in Singapore or to, in a way, like immediately they couldn't find another job. They actually, some of them decided to start their own company. I think for people who are, you know, in a way utilizing this crisis as an opportunity to start their own company, they would need maybe some guidance. So I thought it would be nice to do that. So, and also I think it's a personal challenge, because I was a musician. I was a performance musician before. I was an opera singer actually for 10 years on the side when I was doing my PhD and stuff. After I started the company, I don't have time for it. But I always know that facing criticism, public judgment is a big lesson for me. I think it's a big lesson for everybody, right? You have to kind of put your ego there and let people just do whatever to you, and you have to be strong. I think that is something I wanted to be able to face. I think I'm reaching to a stage, I guess, in my life that I'm able to not getting defensive about it, but make peace with that. And I thought, you know, if I'm sharing something, just knowledge to people that could benefit their life, even some random people criticize me, so what? So be it. I think it's also a personal growth thing for me, and the CB is pretty boring, so I stayed at home doing what? you obviously you can go and binge watching Netflix or YouTube, right? And I also start realizing I didn't really use YouTube that much in the past, but I start actually following some of the channels, and especially those kind of motivational channels when you are actually having difficulties in life. It really actually helps you. You know, when you listen to them, when you kind of adopt their mentality, it actually does give you the positive energy. And I wanted to be able to do something similar.
So at the start, when you just started, of course, it's really like ground zero all again. So how do you actually increase the outreach over time?
Well, initially I share on Facebook, then LinkedIn. Then I think I also had some YouTube like ads. You know, you can actually use Google to kind of promote some of the YouTube stuff to reach out to a broader audience. Also, I think it's the topic selection. Also SEO. So I hired someone to help me with looking at my SEO, see whether I can change some keywords, and and also like choosing the right topic, because I realized like if the topic, the keywords are what people actually been searching for, this is something you kind of have to learn. It's a learning journey, right? Then you get a lot more people looking at it. Like recently I started adding videos on like a meditation with subliminal messages and so on. I think a lot of people really find that useful. And that apparently is my recent video, but less than 7 days, I have like 1,500 people watching. I was like, that's ridiculous. But it happens, you know. But some of my other topics that maybe is the keyword that is a bit too generic, it didn't get a lot of hits. So I think it's not only the subscription so on, because people can subscribe, but then they don't watch your videos. It's the same thing, because maybe the topic is not relevant to them. I actually think a lot of the views come from people who don't subscribe and they just search and think, oh, that's interesting, I want more information on that. So it really depends, because everyone has different challenges at different time. And I have different topics like how to lead, how to understand leadership psychology, you know, how to, how do you assess a good idea from a bad idea? When do you know it's time to give up? When you're feeling give up, what kind of things you're going to tell yourself, or that kind of stuff. So I don't think everyone needs the same thing. So I'm still actually figuring out what would be the best topics and best way. I can't tell you yet. I know. I'm just experimenting.
So perhaps maybe in 6 months' time, we'll have another Zoom session with you and you can share your
hopefully by then I have 10,000, right?
Yes. All right. So I have another question here for you. What were your biggest struggle as a female entrepreneur, putting out content to people out there and talk business with people?
I really don't think that way. I think it's how you think. Okay, first of all, All right, managing expectation is one thing, okay? And feeling bad about yourself is another. Okay, I never feel bad about myself because I'm a female, so people be less willing to hear what I'm saying. I never have that mindset, okay? But I do manage people's expectations. So if you know you're meeting, for example, Chinese clients, and when I started, I was only 28, right? So I look like 5-year-old, I guess, when I go out. So one way I do is my co-founder is a male and look maybe a little bit older than I do, and I have employees who also look older than I do. So when we go out for meetings, and I didn't call myself a CEO and founder until maybe 5 years. The company reaches 5 years. Initially, I just call myself business development manager, and that's what I do, right? I develop business. So when I go with my co-founder, for example, I will be the secretary. I will be the business development and salesperson. So they don't know what. It doesn't matter. So that's called managing expectation. But doesn't mean in my heart, if you really ask you, so are you part of the shareholders, whatever, I will be very honest and say, yeah, I'm one of the shareholders. But I was not going to be dishonest about it. That's not what I'm saying. But I wanted to portray and manage the expectation, because if I go there and I make some really intelligent points and I'm only a secretary or / business development manager, I think it only make the company look better. I don't have a big ego to have to go and sell myself as the CEO, or whatever works for the business. I think I'm a very practical person. So if you're talking about that, being a female entrepreneur, yes, you need to manage expectations in certain circumstances. For example, especially meeting with Chinese government and you wanted to talk about partnerships and so on. I'm not saying China is racist and sexist, okay? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, if you meet people who are in the 50s and so on, they could have certain perception towards you. Actually, I also realized American business people also tend to maybe have some stereotypes, but not that severe. And if you deal with Europe, usually is not a problem. But again, I'm using my business card as business development manager anywhere, so it doesn't really matter.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I think as long as I'm not going there and say, "Hi, I'm the CEO," I think it's okay. So, but I'm saying, like, I'm not feeling like nobody's hearing me just because I'm a female. That's not the case. I'm just trying to manage your expectation by my titles. That's all. Because the thing I don't want to create is, okay, I go there, I look like 5'15", and I say, oh, I'm the CEO of the company. They look at me and say, can I trust her? Can I buy? Should I buy? Can I trust she can deliver? Oh, she's the CEO, my goodness. Would her like employees be 7? Does that make sense? So I don't want that perception, but it's nothing to do with my gender. I'm more worried people questioning my capabilities, not because I'm female, because maybe my age and my appearances. That's all. I think you attract what you are. Okay, if you are someone who is always worried everyone's going to cheat you, you will attract people who will cheat you. Because you have this energy and say, you see the worst in everyone, right?
The law of attraction.
You already assume that people are going to judge you because you're female or because you're young. If you go out there with this perception, people will. Actually, it's not because of other people think this way. It's because you already think this way. And you attract exactly that. But if you go out and say, I'm just a business person and I'm awesome, I'm pretty good, I can do this. And if they question you, you're like, yeah, so what? Pretty good. If people say, okay, you look like a uni student, you said, yeah, but I have a lot of years experiences. I'm very confident in the product and how I can deliver. If you go in there, it's not a problem for you. It will not be a problem for them.
Right. Okay. I have a last question here. Okay. What was it in NAV that interests you to join us to be part of the NAS Angel Venture?
I think first of all, it's NUS, right? It's my alumni, so I always have obviously a connection to my school. And also, I think what you guys are doing is quite interesting. Like you are trying to cultivate these ventures and help startups budding from the graduates. And I'd love to help if there's anything I can contribute. I think that's majorly why I'm attracted, because I like to contribute and it's NUS, so why not?
Right, that's very nice. Okay, thank you, Ting Ting, for sharing your thoughts. If any one of you out there have any more questions, feel free to send any follow-up questions to our email address here. And also, do connect with Ting Ting on LinkedIn and check out her awesome YouTube videos in the description link below. Thank you, Ting Ting, once again, and we'll see all of you soon.
It's a
Bye.
pleasure. Bye.